Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously fascinating cross-section of relationship psychology and Vedic astrology, the placement of Mercury in the third house. If you've ever wondered why some conversations effortlessly build deep emotional bonds, while others, well, they just feel like a robotic data exchange, then this is absolutely The Explainer for you. We've got a lot of great ground to cover, so let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Am I truly being heard, or am I only receiving replies? According to our source material, this isn't just some passing rhetorical question. It's actually the exact, subtle test that Mercury in the third house is constantly running in the background. It sets a profound emotional hook right from the very start. I mean, we are talking about the vast canyon between just getting a text back and actually feeling understood.
All right, moving into Section 1, the meaning of Mercury, setting the foundation.
To really grasp why that question of being heard hits so hard, we first got to look at the third house itself. We know this is fundamentally the realm of communication, curiosity, and courage. Think of it kind of like the architectural space in a chart where our conversations actually live. It's the bustling intersection of human connection. It governs the exact way information moves between two people.
Now, let's bring Mercury into the mix. In Vedic astrology, Mercury is the natural governor of speech, intelligence, and analysis. So imagine taking this highly analytical, hyper-communicative planetary energy and dropping it directly into that bustling intersection we just talked about. You are essentially putting the ultimate communicator into the room built specifically for conversation. It's a powerhouse combo.
And when that happens, words literally become the bridge for emotional connection. For someone with Mercury in the third house, words are never just casual throwaway exchanges. No way. They are the absolute foundation for closeness. A relationship might have plenty of affection and attraction, sure, but true emotional intimacy, that only grows through meaningful conversation. They need a partner who listens far beyond the surface level.
Which brings us to Section 2, listening versus responding. The psychological core.
Shifting gears into modern relationship psychology, there's this massive line drawn between listening and just responding, and this placement reflects that dynamic perfectly. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it presents. True listening means actively entering another person's emotional world. Responding, on the other hand, often just means offering a quick answer or a practical fix. On the surface, they might look similar, but they create wildly different emotional experiences for the person doing the speaking.
And honestly, this is exactly why this takeaway is so vital. The heart doesn't always need advice, right? Sometimes it just needs recognition. A partner who simply fires off solutions completely misses the mark here. What's truly desired is emotional presence. Someone who remembers the small details and actually understands the emotions vibrating behind the words. They crave that simple, validating feeling of true comprehension.
So let's look at how that plays out in Section 3, the need for mental connection, mind over matter.
Because Mercury represents the mind and the third house is all about expression, together they create a powerful need for mental stimulation. For someone with this placement, attraction is often heavily driven by intelligence, humor, curiosity, and a very specific communication style. Just think about that for a second. The way someone speaks becomes just as important as what they are actually saying. A thoughtful, highly engaging conversation can easily create way deeper attraction than, say, a grand, dramatic, romantic gesture. But because this placement relies so heavily on conversation to process emotions, there's a distinct vulnerability baked in. Silence feels confusing when emotional issues remain unresolved. Communication is their primary method of creating emotional security. So when a partner goes quiet or withdraws instead of, exploring different perspectives, it creates an immediate lack of emotional safety. Silence isn't golden here, it's totally destabilizing.
And there's definitely a flip side to all this intense mental energy. An overly active Mercury can lead to absolutely exhausting overanalysis. We're talking about overthinking every single interaction, agonizing over text messages, interpreting every tiny pause in a conversation, and finding hidden meaning in every slight tone change. The very tool used for connection, the mind, just goes into overdrive if emotional security isn't firmly established.
Let's dig a bit deeper. Section 4. Modifiers and chart variations, peeling back the layers.
Looking at the deeper chart mechanics, every Mercury has its own totally unique language, depending on the zodiac sign it occupies. In Gemini, it seeks variety, humor, and a rapid-fire exchange of ideas. But drop that exact same Mercury into Virgo, and suddenly it values hyper-clarity and practical detail above all else. In Libra, it's all about diplomacy and emotional fairness. And in Pisces, It shifts entirely to intuition, imagination, and deep emotional sensitivity. It's the same planet, but it's speaking completely different dialects.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we introduce other planets into the mix. A person's communication flavor changes completely depending on these interactions. Jupiter expands wisdom and patience, while Venus adds incredible charm to their speech. The Moon brings in that deep emotional sensitivity. But notice the modifiers further down. Saturn might create hesitation or a real fear of expressing vulnerability. Mars can make speech intensely direct, even argumentative. Rahu brings a kind of restlessness, and Ketu might actually create silence or detachment, making it incredibly difficult to explain those inner feelings.
So, the crucial point is understanding the overall strength of Mercury in the chart. A strong Mercury gives the adaptability and intelligence to easily resolve misunderstandings through healthy dialogue. A challenged Mercury, however, can create communication gaps, mixed messages, and a real difficulty in expressing emotions. And here is the biggest takeaway of all. With a challenged Mercury, the problem is almost never an absence of feelings. It's simply the mechanical inability to translate those deep feelings into words.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Courage for True Intimacy, the Ultimate Goal. Moving to the absolute deepest philosophical takeaway from a Vedic astrology perspective. The third house represents the courage to express oneself. Mercury in this position teaches us an invaluable lesson. Communication isn't just about speaking clearly or having an impressive vocabulary. It is fundamentally about the bravery to safely reveal your authentic fears, your highest dreams, and your deepest emotional needs. Words are a pathway to true intimacy only when both people feel safe enough to take off their masks.
Now, to be completely impartial to our source material, we definitely need to note that no single placement defines a relationship's success. It's like a giant puzzle. You have to consider the holistic chart factors, the condition of the third house lord, Mercury's overall dignity, all those various planetary influences we just discussed, and importantly, the Navamsha or D9 chart, which provides much deeper insights into marriage and relationships. A supportive chart indicates strong emotional expression, while challenging combinations just show us the specific lessons we need to learn around listening. The entire horoscope reveals the true overall pattern.
And this brilliantly illustrates our ultimate conclusion. Mercury reminds us that the deepest conversations are not always the longest ones. True closeness is found in those profound moments when two people finally feel completely heard without needing to endlessly explain everything. It's when understanding transcends the sheer volume of words.
Which leaves us with this incredible, timeless question to reflect on. Are my words reaching someone's heart, or are they only reaching their ears? As we wrap up this explainer, I invite you to look at your own relationships through this lens. Remember, communication only creates connection when it carries real understanding. Keep learning, keep seeking to truly understand each other, and we'll see you next time.